Welcome to the governance call. And today is the 19th of June, and we will get started with just simple, nice and easy intentions and distractions. Today my intentions are to talk about some cool forum topics. Wow. And maybe nice token buyback. Ooh. My distractions are intense sunlight. And I will pass it to Heather.
Yay. My intentions for the call is to listen to the forum updates. And my distractions, I'm a little hungry. And I will pass it to Monique.
Hey everybody, my intention here is just to listen, be in the loop, and I also have to prepare this SubDAO PF working group presentation, ask my questions, and I'm not distracted, and I pass it to Nicola.
Thanks, Mo. Okay, happy Monday. Good afternoon from Giveth House. And I'm here to listen to Mitch's agenda, Mitch show. And also I hope to hear a little more about this restructuring, Giveth, I don't remember how Fresho called it, but this new proposal in the forum. And just keep myself in the loop. And I'm going to pass it to Jake.
Cool, thanks. Just listening, see if there's anything. Doesn't sound like there's many voting options, but Mitch always comes up with some good stuff for the governance and no distractions. Let me pass it along to Hi.
Hey, no intentions, no distractions. I give it to Almond.
Thanks. Intentions to sync up and no distractions. And I'll pass it to Sandy.
Thank you, GM, everyone. Intentions to just sync up and no distractions. I'll pass it to Leslie.
Thanks, Sandy. My intentions for the call, to see what's up in the forum and maybe answer any questions if people have questions around my proposal. And my distraction, I don't really have any distractions. I'll pass it to Danny.
Good morning. Let's see, what am I working on this week? I am planning my week very carefully and allotting hours to all the beautiful things that I work on, and I've got some hours for Giveth, so I'm here today to find out how to use those hours wisely and understand which proposals are up that I should pay attention to. And also, I'm working with Franco on the reward DAO, so just checking to see what we've got on there. My distractions are just that I'm in a beautiful place in Colorado with some lovely people, and that's about it. Happy to be here with you all. Not sure who. How about Jake?
Jake already went, but we need to hear from Mateo.
Oh, yay.
Thank you, Mitch. Hey, guys. No distracted. I'm just here to keep in the loop. I'll pass it to Carlos.
Hey, everyone. Also here to sync up, see what's going on, and coding in the background. I'll pass it to, let's see, who's missing? Heather?
Oh, Heather was the first to go, but I think we can take a giant kin.
Yeah, I think I'm the last.
Okay.
No? Just here to listen. Distractions. I have a long list of distractions, so it's doctors and food and customers. But did somebody else come in? Almond, maybe?
No, we got to hear from Lauren.
How much?
Thanks, Mitch. My intentions are basically just like starting to feel the pressure on the working group update proposals. But yeah, and then otherwise just here to be in the loop. And I'm distracted by reviewing QF issues. And I'll just pass it to you, Mitch.
Okay. All right. What do we got here? I think everyone got a chance. Yeah. Okay. Great. Then let's start here. In the agenda, we don't really have anything to vote on unless one of you snuck something in. Nothing to sign in the multi-sig, neither the snapshot nor the give garden, and our give is cool. So we can actually jump right into some forum proposals. The first one here was for the Giveth legal cost funding proposal. And Rochelle isn't here. I can try and give the best summary unless Griff wants to take a stab at it. If there's anything I need to include or exclude.
No, I think you can give the quick summary.
Okay, no problem. So the TLDR is we're asking for 4,000 in stables. Rochelle, I'll admit, wrote it very funny. A legal restructuring of Giveth. But basically, what is actually happening is we are on the cusp of creating a Swiss legal association for Giveth. We are paying a lawyer in Switzerland to handle all of the documentation and the formation of the legal association. And the purposes of that is to allow us to use the legal association to do KYC on behalf of Giveth, essentially. There's 3 members that will be part of it. I'm the president of the association, and then Ahmad is the secretary, and I believe Jake is on there as well. And we were supposed to get Kotabe, but somehow he missed the wrong meeting, so we didn't get him on there. So basically the 3,000 is going to be going to paying this lawyer who's going to just set this all up for us. And then there's going to be some extra fees, like it was quite expensive to send the documents to Switzerland from Mexico and from Georgia. So there's some extra stuff in there, and I think the rest of that is just like a buffer for any other unforeseen costs that we might have. And then going forward to basically like renew and maintain this legal association, it'll cost another 2,500 American dollars per year to just keep that going. So that's the gist of this proposal here, essentially. And if you guys have any questions.
No, that was just pretty much all that I wanted to know. Some details. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. Okay, interesting. Let's do it.
Yeah, it was like legal restructuring of Giveth. I'm like, oh, that's not quite, but yeah, that's the lowdown.
Is there like another benefit besides the KYC ones?
We might, well, if we have a lot of KYC money, then we can make some invoices a little bit easier, and interface with the regular world, like the default world, a little bit better. But the main thing that we wouldn't have that ability until we get money from grants that require this KYC. So that's the thing.
Yeah. So then, for example, Griff, like we could use this for like future optimism grants.
Yeah, or like Cello, or and different things that are blocking us. And then once we have money in there that we don't have like a planned expenditure for, then if someone's like, I need a legal invoice so that I can, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, good. Well, we have a Swiss entity that can make a legal invoice. For the most part, we've just been making it up, and it hasn't been fun.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I'm just curious, and maybe this isn't relevant at all, but will this affect our our nonprofit status at all? Like as a fund?
No, like Mitch says, it's not really a legal restructuring of Giveth. It's more like creating a side legal entity, just like the DAF, then our nonprofit, our 501c whatever, is kind of a side entity to the DAO, and same with this Swiss entity.
Okay.
Vested entities.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I want to pass the ball to Ashley to talk about this Communitas working group proposal.
Well, I have spec'd out kind of the mission of the working group, all the team members, our goals as a working group, how it'll benefit Giveth, a lot of all the information. Excuse me. Kind of what it would be defined as a success and a failure, and then 3 different options for the proposal growth or the budgeting growth, like to grow, to sustain, or to shrink. So I don't know if anybody has questions about it or needs more clarity or whether you had a chance to look at it, but it's finally up. I did it, you guys.
Yeah, this is cool. So I've got a question, and I asked about it here. I was curious, because Communitas, some of the big, where was it? The goals, overlap with a lot of the stuff that we want to do with the DApp as like a product. So newcomer onboarding, building. I can see here your measurable KPIs are new projects and new donors.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you could work on those KPIs from a community perspective with things that will also be KPIs for the DApp.
Yeah, I mean, I think as community, I think we'll probably have a lot of overlapping goals with other working groups since we're all part of the community, right? Even other working groups. But I'm hoping to find a way to track them a little bit better as far as where did these users come from? Was it because we had an event, or was it because, so I think maybe that's something that I'd like to focus on in tracking some of these goals, like being able to know what's bringing the new users and the new donors. So that way we can start to focus on maybe expanding in those areas, or what's working, what it is exactly that's bringing that.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. I was looking at the measurable deliverables and parts things, and I see it talks about new projects and contributor engagement on the calls and forum. What I'm wondering is, are there KPIs around project longevity, out of all the new projects, how many of them have continued engagement, things like that?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely something to look at. And I think initially it was just we needed to just put some KPIs down. So I don't think that this is all inclusive and that we won't be considering some other KPIs in the future. But at first, I mean, we just need somewhere to start. But I think it's important to think of that too, and what keeping people engaged and active rather than just having a high turnover rate,
I do know, yes.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then we also are considering, the forum and the Discord, obviously, and then the community calls as part of like some trackable metrics as well. That's cool. Is there anything in here about well, I guess if we're using Discord, is there anything around like other social media channels or anything like that, or is it really just focused on Discord?
Well, that's one thing that we've been getting a lot of feedback about, and this ambassador program has been so great, and I think that's one of the reasons why we want to focus on expanding this, and we've dropped some things like some of the podcasts and things that we were doing for some of these other initiatives that we know are working to bring like new projects and getting more verified projects and stuff, and having the ambassadors come through, and they've been able to point out a lot of gaps in like where the projects are struggling as they're helping to onboard them. And one of the things is Discord is a blocker for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to use Discord. So we've been talking about maybe revamping the Telegram group that we once had, now that Telegram has this ability to have different like little channels and things like that, and maybe we can work on that. And that's part of like the grow option, to maybe revisit that, or maybe even at least make our Discord more simple for people to understand, because it just seems to be really overwhelming. So I think right now our group is choosing to be like less on expanding all these things and like coming back to center a little bit more and doing some research of what has been working, looking at all the feedback that we're getting from users as well as the ambassadors, and choosing some simple things that we can start with to start making it more accessible.
Yeah, and also with that in mind, you mentioned other social media channels, but I was thinking this the other day that this is floating and really this has no owner, meaning KPIs or goals that someone is going to work with social media. As again, if comms is a chapter and really does not have its own KPIs, then really social media or other comms channels are really floating. It does not have an owner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe you and I can work together to define some of those, or if you have any ideas, feel free to put them in the proposal and we can define it a little bit better, because I don't want those things to drop off, especially if comms is not going to have their own goals.
Yeah. Because again, all the goals regarding comms and marketing will, in this case, rely on communities. So I don't know if that's like the best way to handle this, honestly. Just like to carry out everything to communities, and then I don't know. It seems like a lot.
To be honest, I love to have communities and community with dev together, because they're single product, single market, single audiences, and also single KPIs.
Like, sorry, you said Communitas and comms? Just to hear you correctly.
Communitas, comms, and DAP.
And DAP. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Hey, Mitch, could you speak to what you put into this comment here about you think that getting new projects and donors falls under the responsibility of the DAP working group? Like, my brain isn't getting around that. That feels like that would be a communitas thing.
Well, like if we look at the DAP as a product, like one of its goals, the DAP being the donation platform, right? And so the goals of that product would be to get more donations and more projects to donate to, right?
I don't know. It feels to me like the DAP's mission and objectives would be: is it easy to use? Is it meeting the needs of the community? But getting more people on it feels like a community outreach and culture side of things.
I suppose that's one perspective, but I think what I was hearing from Monique and others, it's like the goal would be to just like have more donors and projects. Like greater donation volume seems to be like the DAP defines success when there's lots of donations happening.
Exactly. I think, if we're talking about a single platform that is Giveth, and our audiences is not token holders, it's donors and project owners. So the marketing has to be focused on specific goals. And, the devs also working on a specific project. And, it's both needs offline and online, attempts. We need analytics as well as, engaging people in the community and for. So these are the same things that we're doing to want it to make happen.
Yeah, but Communitas is also like more than that. I feel like what Ashley's doing is like, okay, donors and projects, but also like explaining the give economy and like, yeah, like all of the products and more,
Yeah, I think it's mostly, support, or, in bricks and mortar companies, it's called, call center, or event management things. Usually they have offline marketing or, community or, PR things together that I can see in the Communitas working group.
Well,
and mostly...
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just thinking maybe I can outline some of the tasks a little bit better too, like in the proposal here, because I was under the impression from the new structure that like user support is under the DAP now. So I've been like logging the time that I spend with user support under the DAP working group. And like non-user support or like new projects that aren't already users, if I'm helping people to create new projects or I'm helping like with contributor support or things like this, then that would be under Communitas. But all of the user support is now being logged under the DAP working group as far as I was aware.
I think that's what we said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it sounds. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
There's a section in Clockify as well for like user support relating to Give Economy. I'm not sure if it makes sense at all to like really split it up, or I just don't want it to be too granular for people who are actually doing the work to have to be like, yeah, I spent like 0.5 hours on this, and but just so you know that there is also that thing within the Give Economy working group.
Yeah, and I usually try to do it accordingly. So it's like if somebody is asking me a question about the farm or like, something's not working right there, but for the most part, most of the user support goes under the DAP. But I think I have logged a few things under Give Economy as well.
I want to go back around to. Sorry, I would like to go back around to what Almond was saying, because I don't think we really like addressed it. And like you were saying, Almond, that it doesn't make sense to have like all of social media just like be part of Communitas.
I mean, I don't see any other option at this point, to be totally honest. I just want for everyone to be mindful that this is new, and for me it feels that it's going to be a lot of responsibility for a working group that didn't manage this in the past. So just mindful for me that, okay, I don't see any other option, but at the same time I feel that Communitas working group needs more support. But yeah, that thought.
I would like to share, because this is what I was going to share, is I guess kind of related to this diversification between the KPIs for different groups. Because for me, Communitize is more about maintaining relationships, and comms and marketing are more about presenting all the information that, okay, I'll go back to products. Like DApp is about, like, the KPIs for DApp is like building a functional platform that, like, I guess the deliverable is that it's user friendly and it's like basically easy to use and it's functional and it's great. It's great product, right? That's how I imagine the difference between what's the DApp for. It's like, what is the goal of the DApp? And then what's the goal of the Communitas? And Communitas is like maintaining the good and long-term relationship and like onboarding the new users and stuff like that. And then a marketing and comms, I do advocate for marketing and comms chapter to have some of their own goals in terms of, okay, how well are we able to perform the comms for different like types of projects? Because we can have a great product, but if the comms is not like, well executed, then it might not be so successful. So that's a very interesting perspective to have, like, in terms of diversification of like what are the goals of the separate groups, right? And how do we measure them? And I think it would be good for comms to have some sort of quarterly measurable, but something that you can basically review once a while. And it doesn't have to all of it doesn't have to go under Communitas, because you will be executing for all the groups, or for the DApp group too, basically, right? So something like measurable goals for marketing execution for different products.
I mean, is that useful? Because I remember the one thing, it was like, okay, we can measure how many Twitter followers we have, but if that doesn't drive more donations or projects, is that a useful metric?
I guess what I'm saying is more like, can you review the success of one specific campaign for a newly launched product? And it's something that is part of a comms chapter, right? And the comms chapter will be looking at it. And it might be like budgeted under the working group because it went into the specific product coming out of the working group. But this is where my mind is like, it's kind of too complicated, isn't it? Like, how to separate it and make it simple and still being able to measure things, if that's the goal.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got a lot of different ideas. Well, how do we move forward then? Because I feel like this Communitas thing seems like it's kind of clear, but we don't want to lose just like goal tracking for comms. I'm not really sure I'm in a position to like tell comms what they need to do to like keep it on track, but this is the structure that we said we were going to go for. So what's the way to make sure things are running smoothly?
I don't know. I think that it might need your advice on this, not to tell comms what to do, but to help make sure that this does not fall into the cracks as part of the steward that's organizing this whole DAOification. Because that's something that we need to figure out. Social media and website and stuff really does not have ownership regarding goals. So yeah, I think we should spend some time deciding what would be the best way to tackle these details.
Is there a benefit to comms not having their own goals? Like, what's the benefit for them to not have KPIs and goals of their own as a chapter?
Well, I think it's like because it's a chapter, it doesn't have a proposal. Sorry, I know there's a fundraising call right now, so if people need to go to fundraising, then we should let that happen. But like I think it's cool to have like comms can have their own internal processes that like they measure their success of like whatever their campaigns, which I think is like a normal thing, but like not having like a formal working group proposal that we all vote on, every 3 months. Like simpler than that.
Yeah, I agree to not have a proposal as a working group every 3 months. I'm just curious of like why they wouldn't still be able to formulate their own goals and have KPIs and be able to measure the success or failure of certain outcomes. And it's also like it helps you get more insight into what's working and what's not working and what to do more of, like which channels are getting more exposure, which ones aren't, like which ones should we be focused on, and develop a strategy for the chapter.
Yeah. But the main thing, like this is what Griff just threw in, I think before he had to leave, but it was like comms are meeting the other working groups KPIs because they're providing services to them. So it's like that's like the bigger picture, right?
Yeah. Comms does not have its own KPIs, meaning basically social media is just floating around and all the other marketing things and details. So, or Communitas takes social media, everything regarding social media, or all the working groups split their own comms goals, meaning every tweet that they ask for, they need to track every single comms detail that they're going to be asking for.
Well,
that's like the two things.
Yeah, because like for example, like development, Monic tracks everything that the developers are doing. So it's like there's like someone's got like the bird's eye view of everything that's going on, and like I imagine like a comms lead. Again, I'm imagining, but they would like have an eye on like all the campaigns that are going on and like the effectiveness of like everything that they're doing.
Sure. I mean, I think that we have this discussion the other day. We can just split every single campaign that every product manager is going to be asking for. But for me, again, then it's super important to have some sort of alignment between the stewards to make sure that everything makes sense. Because well, I don't know what's going to be the deal with this half an hour steward thing, but I don't think that right now we're very aligned, to be honest. So sure, we can have every working group tracking their own comms efforts, if that's like what was decided.
Well, and I think like as a chapter, there's still deliverables, right? So it's like even as a comm chapter, even if you don't have KPIs that you're working for, you still have deliverables that can be measured. So maybe, with the measurement and to be able to formulate the strategy, but still like working towards the KPIs of other groups.
It sounds to me like what I'm hearing is that the shift is that the comms team executes on requests from the other working groups like Communitas or DAP. So those teams are responsible for their KPIs, but they have to define what kind of communications need to go out. So communications is really just being evaluated on how well it's executing on deliverables that are being guided and requested from the other working groups. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the idea, is that it's more of like a service or like a provider. I know Alman had to jump out, so I don't know if we can really continue this without her.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, then we're gonna leave this. We're 5 minutes past anyway. So the other thing is just to have a quick look at the core team compensation vote that's up there. Just have a gander, make sure it looks good, give it a thumbs up. And I think that's pretty much it. Just the same old buddy reviews, time reporting, etc. And you can ask for Shell or Nico for help on any of that. Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, I think Monique's making some good points in the chat, but I want to respect everyone's time and wrap this up. So thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, I think that's definitely valuable insight, and we can continue to look more at it and how we can come together. So thanks, Mitch, and thanks everybody for all of your feedback.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.